Welcome to MMAPlay365. I'm Newsome and I'm here to give you a Base AI recap from our UFC prediction software from last weekend's event at Noche UFC. Base AI from the straight pit prediction accuracy was 67%. That is, however, only 6 fights predicted correctly from 9 overall fights. Of course, we had a couple of fights that we've had to remove from that statistic due to the no contest and the draw, which Base AI doesn't account for. So yeah, from the 9 fights that did get a win-lost result, 67% across the board, which is always in the area of what we're happy with. But of course, we are going to dive into a few of these fights just to break them down in a little bit more detail, from the percentage to the implied odds probability and to if there was any value or not, if you should have played it or if you should have passed it. And we start with Roman Kopylov versus Josh Fremd. Now, Kopylov to win, Base AI had at 57%. At 57%, the odds implied is minus 133. Kopylov to win at the bookies, he opened at around minus 140, which was nuts because he closed at around minus 400. So even if you'd got the opener, which I don't think the AI predictions were even out at the opener at that point, there still wouldn't have been any value. So we have to look a little bit further. So Kopylov to win inside the distance, that's adding your KO and TKO and your submission percentages together, you get 50%. At 50%, of course, without the bookies margins, the odds implied plus 100. If you take that to the bookies, you're looking at anywhere from minus 125 to minus 175. So again, no volume. I've just done the breakdown podcast, that's why. But there's no value in that. So again, no value in the money line, no value in inside the distance. So we look a little bit further because this is the process that you should be taking if you are using Base AI's predictions. So Kopylov to win by KO TKO specifically, 48%. So straight away you can see there's only 2% difference between the inside the distance and the KO TKO, which tells you that the submission's highly unlikely, which of course it is because Kopylov's a striker. So at 48%, the odds implied is plus 108. What you could actually get on Kopylov, minus 120 to minus 150. There's still no value in that. So at this point, it is probably looking like a pass, but we're still going to go one step further. And actually, this is something that I really like from Base AI. So Kopylov to win in KO by KO TKO in round 2 specifically. So normally for those that have been listen to these recaps week in week out, it's normally KO TKO round 1. But Base AI actually predicted Kopylov to have the best chance of finishing by knockout in round 2, which we don't see very often. And of course he won by knockout in round 2. So super impressed with Base AI just from a structural basis there. And that number was 25%. So now we're into the lower numbers. At 25%, the odds implied is plus 300. At the bookies, you'd have got anything from that plus 300 to plus 460. So if you are really insistent on betting on this fight, then that's the way you should have gone. You should have gone Kopylov to win by KO TKO in round 2. However, it is a low percentage, and we're targeting a round that's not round 1, which is very unusual. So I would have understood if people just use this as a pass. But technically, you could have got value at plus 460, for example, on KO TKO in round 2, which Base AI was saying should have been plus 300. So there's some value there, but overall, a really solid prediction from Base AI across the board. And the next fight that we're going to talk about, we've got Tracy Cortez versus Jasmine Jasudavicius. Cortez to win was 54%. The odds implied at 54% is minus 117. So Base AI is basically saying that Cortez should be the very slightest of favourites, a near coin flip. Cortez, you could have got anywhere from minus 170 to minus 110. I think it opened at around minus 170. It did come all the way down. It did settle at around minus 120, minus 125, but there were some books that did drop the odds to the minus 110 pick'em at some point. So between the minus 110 and minus 115, you'd have got some value. Anything outside of that, you'd have probably wanted to look a little bit further into the numbers. Now, Base AI favoured Cortez to win this fight by decision, which is something I always like because, again, you know, it's very easy to say, okay, this fight's going to win by knockout or TKO or submission, but to actually pick a decision, I really like that. Now, Cortez to win by decision was 47%, so there's actually only 7% difference between Cortez winning outright and Cortez winning by decision from Base AI's perspective. Now, the odds implied at 47% is plus 113. you could have got anything from plus 110 up to plus 145. So again, if you're taking the worst of that range, then there's no value. If you're taking plus 145, then of course you've got value in there. And then if you could get the minus 110 on Cortez to win moneyline, you've now got a decision to make. But I think Cortez by decision would have been the smarter play, just because A, you're getting plus money, and B, you're getting a bigger margin from what Base AI is predicting from the implied odds probability perspective to what you're getting at the bookies. So yeah, again, another solid prediction from Base AI with potential value in both the win and the decision method of victory as well. The next fight that we're going to talk about was the fight that Base AI the fight that we gave away from Base AI's perspective at MMAPlay365. We put a poll out on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I'm not even sure what the cool kids are calling it nowadays. But between X and Twitter, we put a poll out every week and people vote for which fight we want us to give away from Base AI's predictions. Last weekend, it was Della Maddalena versus Kevin Holland. So Della Maddalena to win, Base AI had at 54%. So Base AI thought it was a close fight. The odds at the bookies, which we'll get into in a minute, relatively close as well. The fight played out super close, went to a split decision. Could have gone either way, in my opinion. But 54% is what Base AI gave for Della Maddalena. At 54%, the odds implied there is minus 117. So again, Maddalena, a very, very slight favourite, just outside of a pick'em according to Base AI. And then when you look at the odds at the bookies, this fluctuated quite a lot, to be fair. So Della Maddalena opened at around plus 115. He then went to plus 110, plus 105, plus 100, then into your minuses and all the way up to minus 115. I say that like I was about to say minus 200, but ultimately Della Maddalena was anywhere from plus 115 to minus 115. So even if you took the worst of that line, you'd have still got some very slight value using Base AI to bet on Della Maddalena. So again, a solid prediction from Base AI. And the last fight that we're going to talk about is one of the fights that ended up being a non-result from the Base AI perspective, but should have definitely been a result in my opinion, considering the scorecards. And at this point, you probably all know which fight I'm about to talk about. So we've got Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso. Now, yes, the fight ended up as a draw. Now, I wouldn't have been, and what I'm not saying is, I'm not saying that Shevchenko absolutely should have won and Grasso didn't have an argument for a win. If Grasso would have been the winner on the night, I'd have had no problem with that. The problem comes within the one judge's scorecard in round 5 that gave Alexa Grasso a 10-8 round in that round 5 when it was not a 10-8 round. And even if Grasso would have won that fight won that round 10-9 on that judge's scorecards, which it should have been, she'd have lost the fight. So that's where I think Shevchenko's been hard done by, because one score by one judge in one round did affect the entire result of the fight. But anyway, Base AI had Valentina Shevchenko to win at 53%. So one thing I like about this again is, look, Shevchenko was up there at like minus 200 for the majority of fight week and during the fights taking place. And Base AI was saying, look, the fight's going to be a lot closer than what the lines suggest. We do, Base AI does favour Shevchenko, but it's going to be much closer than what the odds are saying that it will be. And at 53%, that backs that up, because the fight was a close split decision that could have gone either way, ended up in a draw. So Shevchenko to win at 53% was a bang-on accurate prediction, in my opinion, from Base AI, which, because she should have won, and again, I personally scored the fight 3-2 to Shevchenko. I feel it was definitely in and around that ballpark of being an absolutely bang-on prediction. At 53%, the odds implied is minus 113. On the money line, on the bookies odds, you'd have got anywhere from minus 140 to minus 250. So again, if you're looking at betting Shevchenko using Base AI's percentages, it's a pass from a moneyline perspective. If you want to go a little bit further in, Shevchenko to win by decision, that was favoured by Base AI as well. Of course, it did go to a decision. 20%. The odds implied at 20% is plus 400. Shevchenko to win by decision was anywhere from plus 150 to plus 165. So again, absolutely no value in there either. So all in all, in my opinion, Base AI did a very good job in regards to being accurate with how this fight's going to play out. It also did a really good job in potentially putting people off from betting the fight because there was no value in the Shevchenko win or by decision. So yeah, in my opinion, it was a solid prediction that should have been technically included in the win-loss predictions overall, But even if you had a bet it, you'd have got your money back anyway because, draws are push. So all in all, a really solid event in my opinion from Bays AI. Did really good on a lot of the fights, and of course was in and around the number at 67% that we are okay with. So yeah, that's it for this Bays AI recap. There actually won't be a recap next week from this weekend's event at UFC Vegas 79, just because I'm flying away on a holiday. So yeah, I'm not going to be able to do a podcast, and I'm definitely not doing it by the pool. And I'll recap UFC Vegas 80, which is the following event, which will be the following week after the 1 week break that we've already got next week. I know that sounds pretty confusing, but it makes sense in my head. But that's it from the Bays AI recap from our UFC prediction software. I'm Newsome, thanks for listening and tuning in, and we'll be back again for UFC Vegas 80.